Okay, this is a mini Sky Cricket pod, not a full one, mind you, just a mini one, the day before the first day of the second test at the Gabba. And we're in the Gabatoir. Is it nice to be back at the Gabatoir, Nas?
Well, I didn't get. They wouldn't let me in. I mean, for everything I've done for Australian cricket at this particular ground, I turned up, showed my accreditation. They wouldn't let me in, and then about half an hour later, Cricket Australia kindly came down and sorted out my accreditation. Then the moment I got in, we all got kicked out again.
Wow.
There was a fire alarm and fire engines and everything. It is lovely to be back at the Gabba. Yeah, looking forward to the test match.
Well, it's a ground that's changed enormously, actually. A long time ago when I first played my first test here, 30 odd years ago, 1990, and I think the old hill was about here, and then they had a dog track running round the outside, but now of course it's the kind of Gabatoir of the modern kind of concrete bowl that it is, really. But the pitch hasn't changed very much. It's usually a pitch that, a bit like the Optus at Perth, offers pace and carry, and that's going to be England's big challenge this week.
It is. I mean, it can be flat here, by the way. You know, everyone's just making out it is an absolute minefield. It's going to be like Perth. We've played here. England played here second time round when Strauss and Cook and that brilliant batting lineup scored 500 plus on it.
Second dig, man.
Second dig, yeah, not first dig. But that was obviously a day game, and this is a day-nighter. And they say under the lights here it does zip around. It does in most day-nighters. So it's been a long wait, hasn't it? It's been 12, 13 days. So that's going to be important.
Well, you've racked up 74 bottles of Chardonnay between the last test and this
one. I've
one.
done literally every tourist spot between Perth and Brisbane. So I'm really looking forward to it. He's cut that pitch, but it still looks pretty green. So England have gone in with the balance of the side. I think it's the right balance. Will Jack's come in for the injured Mark Wood. 5 seamers always seems a lot for me. And they had to play 5 in the last game because they wanted to go hard on that Perth pitch, which obviously aided seam and fast bowling, but also because 3 of them were Wood, Archer and Stokes, all a history of injuries. So to go with 4 would have been a risk. Whereas now without Wood, they can go 4 and they can also go Will Jacks. And he obviously adds to their batting. What do you make? Australia, you've been here watching. There's a few whispers about Pat Cummins. We haven't got a team yet.
Just to give you the timeline, it's 4:30 on the day before the game. So whatever we say here will get overtaken at some point because we haven't had an Australian team. Steve Smith, who is nominally the captain in the squad, he gave the captain's press conference about a couple of hours ago down on the outfield. But he had very little to say, really. People kept asking about the team, and he said, I just don't know. I'm not a selector. So I have nothing to say. And the reason for that is there are 1 or 2 rumours swirling around that Pat Cummins, even though he's not in the squad, is very, very close to selection, and that they could, if he gets ticked off by the medical people, he could make a dramatic
I've spoken to a couple of people
entrance.
And they said they saw Pat Cummins and Andrew McDonald having a hug out there. Now, was that a hug, welcome back, or a hug, we'll be ready
whatever
for
you want to see in a hug? Anyway, those are the rumours swirling around. We think Travis Head will open. Usman Khawaja definitely not playing. We think Josh Inglis will play in the middle order. If Cummins came in, I suppose he could come in for Nathan Lyon, couldn't he? Or Doggett. They could just make a like-for-like swap, but then it'd be 1 of 3.5 seamers with Cameron Green. Anyway, that's all speculation.
I think that's why they were delaying it, because they were waiting for the latest cut of that pitch. Once it's been cut, then don't go too early on your decision-making process. So they'll know now. It's just an odd thing to do with your captain. It's the sort of thing your captain is your first thing that you want to make the decision on.
The thing
and
is,
they've left it quite late.
Well, I think he just hadn't. You got to get ticked off by the medical people first, and he had to do 2 lots of bowling, which he did on Monday and Tuesday. He bowled consecutive days for the first time, so they're kind of leaving it to the last minute. The word last week was that it was unlikely, but it's not without possibility. Anyway, as I say,
ignore all that.
That's all going to get overtaken. By the time you listen to this, the
It's
Australian team's probably been announced, and all that uncertainty will be settled. Morning after, Judge passed away yesterday, or that the news was announced yesterday that our friend Judge had passed away. Lots of lovely tributes in the papers today. I've read most of them, and all of them sum up a guy very well who was an outstanding cricketer, a slightly troubled soul in the years after his career finished, but a hugely popular and loved member of the England team.
Yeah, I've read all the pieces, I've seen all the footage on Twitter and the shots, and I forgot how many times he batted without a lid on, actually. I remember him with those side pieces on, but there's a lot of footage of Judge batting.
Which you wouldn't be able to do now.
You wouldn't be able to do. I read your piece, it was a lovely piece as ever. Mike Selvey, what was it? He hit it as hard. You'd want the executioner's axe to fall as hard as Robin Smith hit it. And that was it. And the square cut has got mentioned so many times. And also, more importantly than all that, you get remembered for your cricket, and England fans have remembered, and Hampshire fans have remembered him for his cricket. But like Jack was very close to him, Jack Russell, all that team were. He was such a popular member of that team, and just seeing the reaction of fans who loved him for the player that he was, but also teammates who loved him for the person that he was. He had no, in fact he was the opposite of someone who had an ego about him. You mentioned it yesterday. He actually was sort of a little bit of a nervy cricketer.
Yeah, he was a bit of a worrier. Yeah. Very shy actually. Yeah. But somebody who always wanted to please. He never really said no. If you asked him to do something, he would be incredibly eager to say yes.
I remember Edgbaston, I think Shane got him again, and he struggled picking Shane. He was one bowler that he really struggled with. And he came in at Edgbaston, the old dressing rooms, and he was just in the dressing room looking up at the screen in bewilderment. And he was just laughing at himself. He just said, I just cannot pick this bloke. Is it a flipper, a flopper, a googly? What is he bowling at me?
They said he was a bad player of spin, or a less good player of spin than pace, which I think is fair enough, because he was an exceptional player of quick bowling. But I played in the game in Colombo when he got 100 against Morley. It was 1993. It was a one-off test at the Sinhalese Cricket Club. I remember it. I opened with him actually. I didn't get many. He got 100. It was a baking hot test match. You know what it's like in Colombo in March. And he used to sweat a lot, Judge. He was kind of high nervous energy when he batted. So he was drenched at the end of that innings, and he had about 15 pairs of gloves laid out, all drenched with sweat. And for somebody who by reputation was not a great player of spin, that was a fantastic innings. So he was certainly an all-round player, but if you said what was his super strength, it would be his bravery and his play against pace. So, yeah, a sad day yesterday, and again, our commiseration, our sympathies with Judge's family and friends. You've got to go and interview His Holiness the Pope.
I've done nothing for 12 days, and it's work now.
Oliver Pope. What are you going to ask him?
I'm going to ask him what they've been up to. He seems to be playing a little bit better. I mean, just wait. It's going to come now. Let's not go too early, presuming that I've done some prep for this interview. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Ollie Pope, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Okay, well, good luck with His Holiness the Pope, and catch you later.
Ollie, thanks for your time. It must feel really odd. You've gone a long time without cricket. Probably the longest you've been on tour without cricket, would you say? 12 days?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I've been here for about a month or so now, and obviously played 2 days of competitive cricket. So it's weird, yeah, but just ready to get going now.
Just looking back at those 12 days, have you got the balance right between work and rest? You've had to work really hard because of what happened in Perth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've had five sessions now. This is number 5, so today will be pretty light. But no, I think we managed to. I think it's always healthy to get your mind away from it, kind of reflect on the result. Then you've got to just draw a line under it and go again. We did some good things, and we obviously had a bad couple of sessions in that last day of the game. So there's only so much you can think about it. So no, the guys are just fresh and ready to go now.
There was a lot of talk about the 2-day game in Canberra. Just having seen the way that game panned out, the conditions, the climatic conditions, and the nets here in Gabba, at the Gabba, do you feel you've done the right thing? Just looking back on what you could have done as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can kind of look at it both ways, and I understand why there was a lot of noise around playing the 2-day, but then at the same time, look, we're trying to get ready for someone like Mitch Starc, who's going to be looking to swing the ball left arm angle and bouncier pitches here in the humid conditions. So for us, I think it was clear. It obviously played in everyone's mind a little bit at the start, do I, don't I? But then I think, yeah, it's definitely the right thing. And like I said, we've got some real good experience within the team, and we know how sort of quick things can change in cricket as well. As soon as you kind of get a bit of time in the middle, things are back to normal.
The general point, though, forget just this week, but the general point between games, anywhere in the world, if you go up, Test cricket is a team game, but it's an individual game. Can you go up to Brendan McCullum and say, do you know what, the team might not be going to Canberra or wherever. I would like to go and play. That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he kind of spoke to people about it and tried to gauge a little bit of an opinion, but no, he'd be absolutely fine with that. I know there's kind of this view from the outside that maybe it's just, you just go have a train and then rock up at the game, but I think that everyone's very well in tune with what works for them on the pitch, and of course, we're as ready as we're ever going to be for this game, but also for the rest of the 4 other games as well, which I think is really important. I've learned over my time what gets me in the right frame of mind, and I think that's getting that balance between kind of switching off from cricket, but then also making sure you're 100% here when you're at the ground. So yeah, we're ready to go.
Let's talk pink ball Test match cricket. You've played 4 of them in a variety of conditions. Is there any general rule, or do they all vary from ground to ground, country to country?
Yeah, I mean, I played a couple out here, and then where I wasn't probably playing my best cricket for sure, and then one in India and then in New Zealand as well. And I think, yes, I don't think you want to look into it too much. For me, in terms of when it's light, yes, it's going to be a little bit easier to bat in, I assume. Maybe it won't quite sort of kiss on as much, and that's how it's felt in the nets anyway. But I think it's important to not look too far ahead. Obviously, when we're batting in the day, we're not going to be thinking, you've got to get to this score by evening. But because we all know how to deal with a ball that swings and a ball that nips, if it does do that under lights, which it's probably done slightly more when we batted in the nets under the lights. So it's just trying to be as clear as you can be while you're out there, and then try and adapt your game accordingly, so you know that when if it is slightly more in the bowler's favour at times, how you're going to get through it, or how you're going to put a little bit of pressure back on.
Tell us specifically, because I've never played a pink ball Test match, and people listening or watching, specifically twilight, new ball, Mitchell Starc or whoever running in, what are the difficulties at that period?
Yeah, I think, look, the ball does swing a little bit more under the lights, and I guess the harder thing is probably seeing the seam. Normally when you're batting, I guess if when you're facing these guys who are bowling 90 mile an hour, and you can get a pretty good idea whether it's going to swing or not because you can see the seam. And I think what the pink ball does is it just makes it a little bit harder, and the swing can be a little bit more inconsistent. So it's just trying to, while you're out there, be as clear as you can. Right, look, someone like Starc might be looking to swing them back in, or someone else might be looking to take it away, and realising what their biggest threat is and how you can kind of negate that and play the percentages. But of course, with a new ball, it's not going to be easy. But yeah, it's just trying to play the percentages into your hands.
That's a danger period as a batter. And the mantra of this team and your coach, is Brendan McCullum, is to run towards the danger. An old school cricketer like me would see it as that's the danger period, survive, get through this and it'll get easier. Put yourself in that position out there tomorrow, and you're batting under lights and it's doing everything. Are you running towards danger, or are you saying it will get easier if I survive?
I think that's probably when it's down to the individual. For me, without giving too much away, I think the way I kind of went about my innings in that last game, other than the dodgy shot I played getting out, is how I go about things when I feel like it's tough, when I feel like it's nipping. It's having that clarity, knowing where I can score, where I can put them under a little bit of pressure, but also trying to sort of stay pretty tight in my game as well. So that's kind of how I generally go about things when it feels like it's in the bowler's favour. Is I don't want to let them just bowl at me, but also try and just stay as tight as I can. And I know, however much it is nipping around, it does get easier when you are batting. And then you've also got other guys, I guess someone like Harry Brook, we saw how he played in that first innings. He went kind of the opposite way and looked to hit the ball over mid-off and those kind of areas. And I think there's obviously there's a right or wrong depending on the result and the end result. And I think it's as clear as you can be. Being as clear as you can be while you're out there is probably the most important thing, and that's kind of, I guess, in the first test I felt like I was doing it well until I got out, and that's just me because I went away from my game plan slightly. So that's a good lesson in that if I can just do it for that little bit longer, and then hopefully the guy coming on next might miss a few times and you can put a bit of pressure back on there.
Let's go back to that first test, the good and the not so good. The good of you and Harry and the way you batted in that first innings, that pretty much summed up when you were smashing it around, but in a controlled way. That pretty much sums up how you want to play as a team, whether it be individual or as a batting unit. You got that pretty much right? First innings.
Yeah, I think so. I guess because it felt tough, that I knew I had my areas I had to dominate, or else it was going to be too much in the bowler's favour. But then I also knew the main risk, and for me, that was the important bit, was kind of trying to leave as well as I can. So I think we can take the positives from that, and you just got to do it for longer, I guess, especially when you're out here. We know there's going to be some bowler-friendly conditions, obviously, in these first 2 games. So it's just trying to do it for as long as you can. And again, it's that having that complete clarity when you're out there and trusting your game. There might be a few balls knocking around in it, but it's trying to play the percentages so you can get through that tough time.
And that was on the back of playing really well at Lilac Hill. I heard you give an interview about some of the things you've been working on. You didn't give too much away, but whether it be technical or mental, and it was noticed both at Lilac Hill, Michael Atherton was there watching you, and in that test match, you looked very balanced at the crease. Sometimes you are falling over at the crease. You looked very balanced. Have you changed much in your game, or is it much more mental that you're working on?
Oh, it's a little bit of both, really. I think I worked on sort of a mental aspect towards the end of that India series, which I got starts in the last 3 innings. I got a 70 and a couple of 20s, and I felt the mental stuff had really helped. I'm not going to really go into it now, and then also from a technical point of view, I think for me, coming out here, I know the main threats that they pose, especially in these first 2 wickets, with being a little bit bouncier and the style of bowlers they have. So I've just tried to adapt my game slightly to try and, like you said, I probably fell over a few balls in the summer, and just trying to do that to negate a couple of weaknesses that were in my game, and hopefully I can keep building on that.
You get labelled a little bit, and I'm going to label you here. You strike me as someone who starts series well, and tend to fade away. First of all, would you agree with that? And secondly, is it because you're taking so much out yourself, you're so keen, you so want to do well, that it's difficult to sustain that throughout a series? How do you sustain? You go back to India, brilliant start away from home. India at home, brilliant start Headingley. And then it fades a little bit. Is that something that's on your mind that you've had to think about?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm aware that I've done. I guess I've only played 2 5-match series, and they're obviously the 2 examples of it. In the summer at home against India, and then obviously that India away series as well. And it probably was a little bit of that at the time. Is almost kind of going in to that first test, and I knew I was under pressure, and it probably did take more out of me than I realised. But that's something from a mental point I'm working on, and it's trying to make sure I rock up to every test match, every day of cricket, that especially if I'm going to be batting, and just trying to have that same approach over and over again. And if I can do that throughout this 5-match series, then hopefully the runs will be consistent throughout, and I can put some good scores together.
Let's carry on with the good from that first test match, because there's been a lot of doom and gloom after 2 days of cricket. Walking out of that ground, the Perth Stadium, day 1, I spoke to a lot of England fans, a lot of pundits. They said that was the best they've seen an England bowling unit and put pressure on Australian batting up for a very long time in Australia. And the catching, which has at times, I know, not been so good in Australia. You must have been thrilled as a bowling unit leaving the ground day 1 with what you did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've obviously played in 1 series out here, and I mean, standing in the field on that day, I was like, this is so fun, and watching those boys all charging in, bowling, either some of them above 90, and then the other guys just pushing 90 mile an hour. It was great to watch. I mean, that on a pretty spicy pitch, that was some serious bowling, and it felt like there was no escape in that first innings. So I guess that was obviously a massive positive to us, and unfortunately we couldn't replicate that in the second innings, but that's obviously a massive bonus taking forward into this test match. Obviously we've got no Woody, but we've still got 4 fresh guys ready to go.
Okay, they're not so good now, because I'm looking back, because if you don't learn from your mistakes, you can't correct them in the future. The 2 collapses, 5 for 12, a lot of batters out hooking with men back. Is that something you talk about as a team? Bigger grounds here in Australia, look at the size of this outfield at the Gabba. If you're continuously to try and take them on, eventually it's not in your favour, the percentages, or do you just leave it to batters against the short ball ploy?
Yeah, I think again it goes back to that clarity with how you want to play it. For me, I'm not going to be someone, if there's a man on the deep square boundary, that I'm going to try and launch it over his head, because that's not my game. But there's other guys that might suit them. So I think that's just having that real clarity in the individual. Of course, I think that probably that day 1, everything happened so quickly. Adrenaline was going. I mean, the pitch was obviously doing a fair bit, and in our minds, in that first innings, it probably felt like we had obviously 170 is never a good score, but we had a decent score, and I guess the guys who were batting probably felt like to get us north of 200 here, that's the way we're going to try and do it in this situation. Obviously didn't come off, but we still had a lead in that first innings. But yeah, I think again goes down to that clarity in the individuals and what they think their best option is to go and make a big score.
4 for 11 in the second innings. At lunch you're winning that game. You lose 4 for 11. If they bowl that plan here at the Gabba and they try and dry you up by bowling fifth stump, length balls, what is the reaction from this England middle order?
Again, it's that clarity in the individual, I think. Some of us, it's going to look different to others. I think the important thing is, so I look at it, the important thing is to find a way to still put them under pressure, but also, again, playing the percentages. So there's going to be times in this series where they go back to that kind of tactic. Some of the guys might think, I'm going to try and be real positive and take this on. Others might look to try and absorb that for a little bit longer and knowing that the next tactic might be slightly different. So I think it's obviously reading the game situation. Probably what we didn't quite nail last game is I guess when me and Duckett were batting at lunch, that was, if we could have just managed to sort of bat for another hour together, we are well and truly in the driving seat there, and that's on me. Obviously I wasn't happy with the shot that I played last innings, but probably didn't, just made an error in my batting, and yeah, it's just important you learn from that and just have absolute clarity when I come out there this game.
What about the understanding, again, if like at lunch on day 2 at Perth, you're ahead of the game, Aussies were worried, their pundits were worried. It was just starting to turn. Everything that's turned on you as a team was actually just starting to turn on the Australian team, and then either you let them back in or they fought their way back. It's been a recurrent theme with this side. You've played a lot of good cricket, got into really good positions, and then snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Can you understand a game situation and game management? You've run into danger, you've got through the other side. Is that now just a time to absorb and make them work really hard?
Yeah, and that's something that when we reflect on a game like that, and there's been other times as well, what's our best way of really driving that game forward? And then again, that's, as a batting unit, that's down to the individual, and I say the word clarity a lot, and that's what it is, because we've got different styles of players. We've obviously got someone like Joe Root, who everyone knows what an amazing player he is, how he goes about things, and then Harry Brooks, slightly different, Jamie Smith, those guys. So it's just having that absolute clarity in your game, and what's my best way if I'm out there in that situation again, what's my best way and what does the team need of me in that situation? And again, looking back on that Perth test, it is more of what I was doing before lunch, and then obviously playing a loose shot. So that was a lesson to learn, and it's just making sure if we do get in that situation in this game or in the rest of the series that we drive it home as much as we can, because that obviously that was the difference in that game. And Travis came out and played a phenomenal knock, but we probably should have had another 100 or so on the board.
Talked about the Travis Head innings, and this place, if he plays like that, or anyone plays like that, this place can be very hostile. Ben Stokes himself said after that game he didn't quite get it right, went missing a little bit. For him, that's very rare. Can't remember it ever before. You're not vice captain anymore, Harry Brook is. Are you still offering advice, or are you just saying, right, it's over to Harry and Ben now, and I'm just a foot soldier in this side?
Yeah, I think there's leaders within the team, there's good cricket brains, so for me now, obviously not being vice captain, it's probably more down to me going to chat to Harry, and then he can put the message to Ben. I know what it's like in those precious situations where everything's happening so quickly, you're trying to think as clear as you can, everyone's kind of got an opinion, so that's when it's the vice captain's role to kind of do that. So I guess that'll be down to us as players. If we think there's something to go chat to someone like Harry about, and then he'll go and chat to Ben, and then it's just trying to almost slow the game down if something like that does happen again, and be real clear on our plans. And I guess because we didn't know he was going to open, I guess that might be partially why everything just happened so quickly, and that obviously Ben said he got it slightly wrong. There's no comment from us as a team from that, because when a guy's going like that, he could have had the perfect plan and he might have still played the same knock. So yeah, it's probably down to the vice captain to keep things real simple in the captain's mind and help him out there.
Couple of final questions. Are you a little bit surprised at the reaction, at how doom and gloom it's, here it goes again, here England again, 2 sessions ago, you were bossing a test match in Australia. England fans were going to lunch on day 2 at the Perth Stadium thinking, do you know what, this team could do it. And have you just made sure that you've stayed focused on the fact that the history of the Gabba is not about this particular team, you know, that you have got a serious chance in this test series?
Yeah, I think obviously the reactions sort of, it's obviously gutting for us as a team when that result happened, and obviously feel for the fans as well, because I mean we love having them here, and the Barmy Army were unbelievable for that test match. But at the same time, it's like we're hurting obviously as well as well, hopefully more than them, I think. But it'd be great if we can kind of draw a line under that and make them proud here at the Gabba this week, because we appreciate the support that they've got for us, and it's going to be an amazing week. So yeah, it's trying to draw a line under it. And yeah, going back to this venue, I think when you got a team, we've got a pretty young team, and there's no scars from this. Well, in the majority of the guys in this team, so it's just excitement and again clarity and how we want to go about it this week, and I'm sure, I mean, it feels like there's Barmy Army everywhere here, which is going to be awesome, so hopefully they can really get behind us. And
also cover all eventualities. You just mentioned Travis Head coming out second innings. There's still rumours Pat Cummins could stroll out for the toss tomorrow. Australia are not going to name their side to the toss, and it could be Pat Cummins. You just have to make sure you're covering that eventuality as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess they're a team that normally announce their team the day before, so I don't think it will be a massive surprise if he does come out. And then, yeah, like you said, with a knock of the player like Travis Head, it's just been as clear as he can, I guess, with the leadership in the bowlers and how they want to go about it. He obviously played a brilliant knock, but hopefully we can keep him a little bit quieter for the rest of the series.
Good luck this week.
Cheers, thank you.